Well, Honorable Rima Shawulu and Captain Bish Johnston are still with us in the studio. So I'm sure you'd like to put a question across.
Yeah, absolutely. Honorable member, some of the observers who have looked at the entire scenario say, well, why do these funds, the $1 billion, need to be going through this kind of a process? Why hasn't the president just essentially worked with the National Assembly to build it into the defense budget? You're the chairman of the House Committee on the Army, which I would imagine would get a pretty large chunk of this fund if it goes through. Why do you think they haven't gone that route?
Well, before I answer that question, maybe I'll go back to what I was trying to say. You see, the issue of the process, we have to separate it from the need that does exist. Now, all the processes that have, the way this thing has gone, any state governor or any group of local governments, councils, can go to court and get judgment for a refund of this money if they are taken from the excess crude. You recall that when the Minister of Transport was the was the chairman of the Governors Forum, and the former president tried to get money from the excess crude there was a huge debate in the country. The tension was built up. They attempted or even went to court to say this distributable money belonged to the states, that the states did not have business, did not want the federal government to keep this money. So it's been a long controversy over the use this excess crude fund.
Yeah, it's been a long controversy, Honorable. Let me interrupt you. But the question is, nobody has ever stipulated how the monies, in that account should be shared. Every time
it's there. It's constitutional. It's there in the Constitution.
We have never seen it go through this process.
The excess crude fund.
Yes.
Is the funds excess? The National Assembly does a budget. The budget it does is that it fixes a benchmark. For instance, in previous years, the government comes with a proposal. The benchmark is $50 per barrel.
Honorable, we understand how the excess crude account came to be.
So these funds, if we did not have a benchmark, these funds, whatever came in, would have gone straight to the distributable pool of resources, of money.
That doesn't address the legality the illegality of the account, does it, Honorable Member?
No, what is there is that we have a benchmark on what should be used. This money that we have received, the price of oil, you cannot legislate the price of oil, but you have to plan. A budget is a plan. It's a plan. We are planning that, okay, we are going to receive 5 billion naira this year to spend, based on the fact that we are going to sell crude at 1 naira per barrel. And then the crude, suddenly, the price jumps to $50. We have not budgeted for the excess in the plan that we have.
Honorable,
so that fund sits in an account that is now distributed to the states to do their planning, their budget process.
Yes, that's the thing, Honorable. So what we've seen over the years is that the National Assembly itself has also found a way to ensure that they reduce as much money as goes into the excess crude account as possible. Because the National Assembly had complained in the past that the federal government finds a way to spend that money without appropriation.
I agree.
Isn't that true?
It's true. That's the situation that we have. If
that is the situation, how come is it then that in this particular instance, because it's about $1 billion, which was given after a NEC meeting, I mean, the governors agreed to that particular funding for security. We saw them come out to say,
the state houses of assemblies need to...
The speakers were also involved in the
No, the speakers cannot take decisions for the state houses of assemblies.
The question
there have to be resolutions of the state houses of assemblies.
If I may come in, how come is it that all of a sudden we have suddenly found a new process, or should we say an ad hoc process now for the federal government to be able to spend money from this account?
The process has been there.
It's just been abused, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's been abused. The process, which is why I referred to what the Governors Forum did in the past. Hey, this money does not belong to the federal government. Give us our own share. To go back to our state houses of assemblies to give us permission, approval plans on how to spend. Now, as long as we're operating a system that depends on the variables that are not under our control, like fuel prices, and sometimes you have them drop below the benchmark, sometimes, and most of the time higher than the benchmark, meaning that there will always be funds that have not been put into the plans.
Why hasn't the National Assembly requested that that money go to the sovereign wealth account, for instance? We now have a sovereign wealth fund.
No, those funds don't sit there for long. They are redistributed. They are always distributed back to the state. They don't just sit there permanently. After some time, they are given back to the state, shared according to the ratio that is enshrined in the Constitution.
Honourable Member, why don't you level with us for a moment here? Okay. If you look at the fact that this account has been illegally operated now for several years, and we're not just talking about $1 billion, we're talking about tens of billions of dollars that have been shared out of the account illegally. Why has the National Assembly? No, let me land. Why has the National Assembly not up until this point said, look, we have agreed, they've already noted that the account is illegal, they have said so themselves, your branch. The question is, why have they not legalized the account? Why have they not made a law to legalize it so that there is a process?
There is something that you must know. The Constitution is the ground norm. We cannot make a law that supersedes the Constitution. The Constitution says that all funds that come into the Federation should be shared in a certain manner. That is the law that is being used. So the point that is being made now is that these funds that have come in, that are sitting in the excess crude account, are funds that should go to the states, should go to the federal government. They are distributable funds. So we cannot make another law. As long as those funds come in, they have to be kept somewhere.